and welcome to episode 6 of the Business Unplugged podcast.
6 already.
That's 12 weeks.
I just broke a rule.
What was the rule? Oh yeah, so in order to make sure that we don't become bad broadcasters and talk over each other, we're having a hands in the air policy where if you want to talk, you have to put your hand in the air. So Dave's, if you're listening, Dave's hand is currently in the air and he's looking at me like he wants to say something. Go on then.
I just wanted to say that I had my hand in the air and I wasn't being listened to.
But the hand in the air technique does work and it does stop us from crossing over.
But given that you've got most of the show today, you're going to get a really sore arm.
Yeah, we're going to stop this after a minute. Right, should we implement international podcasting rules and ban the word content?
Yes.
Any other words we should ban from the show?
No.
Okay. Okay then, fine. Let's get on with the show. Right, so before we get going, I thought we'd just quickly update you. If you don't care about podcasting or growing an audience, skip to this time.
2 minutes and 41.
Otherwise, hang on and we'll tell you what's happened to our podcast in the last 12 weeks, which you might find interesting. So quick rundown. So 207 views across YouTube, which isn't amazing, but...
It doesn't sound amazing, but what do we have to compare with? We've only been around for 6 episodes.
The beauty of podcasting is you measure your whole show on downloads, total downloads. So we're going to do that with our YouTube as well. The average watch time on there is 8 minutes, which is pretty good. Way better than... That's quite a long watch time per viewer. 175 listens on podcasts on iTunes. Buzzsprout works out how many of them are unique viewers. And actually, we've only got 34 listeners of our podcast. But when you average it out, those 34 have listened to 4 shows. And we only have 5.
So if you're one of those 34 golden listeners, thank you for listening.
It's like a room of people are coming back to us for 20 minutes every 2 weeks. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait till that's 200. So tell your friends. Also, what's cool, we got mentioned on another podcast, which then led someone else to contact us because they wanted to be on ours.
So Richard Branson is on next week.
Yeah, because we couldn't get Seth Godin. General response really has been good, and I'd still say do it. Do it. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, haven't you started
already? We're getting great
already?
response. We're getting emails, getting Americans talking to us. Which if you don't want Americans talking to you, don't do one.
Don't know.
First, we're going to talk about how to make your content more entertaining and more interesting, especially when you've got a boring topic. And then after that, we're going to go over the winner of Seth Godin's This Is Marketing. We've had some great entries. We actually did have entries. We're going to have a book review and our giveaway, this week's giveaway. I'm very excited about the book review this week, Dave. So there we are. Let's get on with the show.
Are you yawning 'cause you're boring? Granddad snoring, communication ignoring. Are you yawning 'cause you're boring? Granddad snoring, communication ignoring. Are you yawning 'cause you're boring? Granddad snoring, communication ignoring. How not to be boring.
First things first, why are we covering this topic, Dave?
Because we've noticed that people have a lot of reasons why they don't think they can be interesting. And top of the list for me was that they're just terrified if they're not safe, they'll come across as unprofessional. And I think what they err on the side of is far too safe and it's just not interesting at all.
So why are things boring, Dave?
There's a ton of reasons. But I think people are second guessing what their audience needs to know without actually putting their feet in their shoes. That's the main reason. So they're making stuff that's not relevant. That's where it's not interesting. Again, we might be back to the issue of looking just at the metrics, like how you're getting the right audience, rather than whether or not you're actually interesting at all, even for the right audience.
I think more of the point was people see other people's content, think it's boring.
Oh, I see. Right.
I don't want to come across as boring. When really
forgetting that information may have actually been really interesting to the right audience.
They should never have seen that, but distribution platforms put it in front of all the wrong people.
That's true, actually, because when I'm talking to prospects, sometimes early on, they love what we do, just our stuff, and then I say, right, let's look at some samples of work that's relevant to you. And then, of course, it's not super relevant to their industry or sector, and they go, but that's not what I want to make. It's like, well, of course, it's not. This is out of context. It's really hard to actually show any of our portfolio to clients and get them to understand how it would work for them.
That's right. So, and that's actually what's causing people to play it safe, I think, is they see a lot of stuff they don't think is very good, and they worry that that's what other people are going to think of them. Another reason why things are boring is pretty much because people don't put enough effort in. And I think that's probably a bigger culprit than the previous comment. How to make things interesting. There is an algorithm that anyone can follow. And I promise you, if you follow this, it will make your communication more interesting.
It's made you more interesting.
That wasn't hard. So, there's... well, actually, do you know what? It has, because I follow these rules in everything that we make. And, get the odd share.
I noticed when you're talking to me, you're desperately trying to work through the list of things just to make conversation more interesting.
You should try going on a date with me.
I don't think I'm going to try
anyway,
that.
So
thanks for the offer.
There's interesting communication. It follows it's 2 levels, right? It's level 1 and level 2.
Yeah.
Level 1 is made up of 3 parts. Level 2 is made up with a lot more, but we'll get there, right? So level 1, in order to make interesting communication, you have to be entertaining, informative, and actionable. Now, there's 3 things there. In order to pull this off, you only need 2, and in some cases, only 1. But we'll get to that in a minute, okay? So let's break this down and make some sense of it.
Can I just say, most of the time, people just stop there. Just be interesting, and that'll solve your problems. It's like, yeah, thanks a bunch.
This is pretty much the answer to every blog that you will find on the first page of Google that says how to be more interesting, because all they've written is be entertaining. And I'm going to teach you the science now behind it. So
amazing.
I hope we feature there someday. Probably won't.
Defiance, compliance, reliance. These are all words that rhyme with science.
What do you think makes entertaining communication?
Something surprising.
Good.
Something that makes you think about something in a new way.
Good. I didn't have any of these written down, so brilliant.
Something where your expectations are subverted, perhaps. So your preconceptions are.
This is already good.
And I think you should feel like you've just been taken away to a different space, just for a moment, just taken out of your day.
Yeah, I like that. That's better than what I wrote. I just wrote making people laugh, smile, cry, and feel part of your video. That will create content. And the way you do that is through... Yours was deeper, way better than what I put. So well done.
That's why I'm paid the big bucks.
It's not often I compliment you or anything. So remember that. The way you do those sort of things, though, is something we talk about all the time. It's just shopper's pivot. I'm not going to bore you with that right now. It's just a device to hook people when you're communicating. Get them interested in you. Or put a link.
Just know that there is another science and algorithm to the way you start things, but that's for another day.
For algebra lesson part 2. Stories make things more entertaining. Metaphors. I guess just basically trying to communicate something and putting a spin on it. Not just saying that wall is red. Working out a different way to get that across and get people to picture it in their head that it is red and work it out for themselves. It's a good way of creating entertainment.
So if you hear a piece of information and it flat out just tells you the end result that you're supposed to get to without telling you how to get there, it's really surface level. It's got to be better than that.
Yeah. So entertaining can be all sorts of things. We've covered that. So the second one you can choose from is informative. Now, what do you think informative means, Dave?
You could just about cut and paste all my answers from the first bit.
Okay, brilliant. And I was thinking that. He's jumped ahead, but it actually worked in both levels. Informative is basically about delivering new information in a way that's waffle-free. So getting rid of the tangents. And a lot of people, when they're new to doing sort of marketing communication, they're not very good at realising what is waffle, because they want to say it all, but you have to stay targeted. So writing stuff and then editing it down and spending all the time preparing it, that will help you from doing it. So information, stuff that teaches people, inspires people, clears things up. And the most important thing for making your content and your communication informative, the C word again, is research.
Actually, do you know what? Yeah, I think you might have hit on something there about what informative is if you cut away all the fat that, that's irrelevant, you'll end up with only the informative stuff left.
Yes.
Which is a discipline that's really hard to do for writers, let alone what we do, which is really short most of the time. Apart from
certainly
this,
doesn't work in podcasting.
It doesn't work in podcasting.
But that's not the point. But yeah, you're right. There's an art to being informative, and I think most people would think the art is in it being entertaining, and actually it's not.
Yeah,
they're both just as difficult as each other. But I think research is key. So let's go back to these blogs we were talking about earlier when we were doing our research, how to make things that are boring more interesting. A lot of the content itself was just obvious. There was nothing past a certain point. They just say things like be entertaining. They didn't give examples.
They certainly didn't explain the science of that, like how to do that step by step.
When you're communicating, look at it and go, okay, is this informative? Is it the basic level of dress smart when you come to work, or is it going to a deeper level, showing statistics that prove that dressing smarter goes to work increases your productivity,
especially if you wear this type of whatever, tie, shoes, like etc.
So Google's just there, the research out there, the very fact that if you don't even spend 5 minutes doing this, it's never going to work, because trust me, there's more information on Google than there is in your head. Number 3, actionable. Now this bit's easier, probably the easiest one of the 3 to choose from, and it's simply, what do you think it is first?
What's the third thing?
No, what do you think actionable is?
What
that means?
You need to be like, go away and go, here's the first step on the ladder towards the thing that has been talked about. That's what I think actionable is.
Pretty much, yeah. So your your material, your communication, it needs to, if it's going to be interesting and not boring, it needs to give someone to actually practice. It's practical advice. So for us, right now, it would be saying, go and write down 3 of the most interesting stories you can think of. And actually, this equation in itself is actionable. Now, the art of giving something people they can actually practice, not only does it give you a lot more value to them, it gives them something to do. It's an action. So they're taking action from reading or listening.
I think the best test is what happens if you don't make something actionable to your audience?
Well, they're just going to forget it.
It's not memorable, right?
Yeah.
There's no way that it ever becomes reality. It's just a theory.
Yeah.
It's a nice theory. Oh, that's nice. But if you...
Let's put it this way. The majority of people read a book and then never action anything from it. They just need a little bit more of a prod to do it. Some people are more inclined to try things out themselves. Some people aren't. But actionable content makes it more interesting.
Exactly. I read Moby Dick and I went, right, that's it. I'm going out to spear a sperm whale, and I did. Truth is stranger than fiction.
Join us next week on the Whale podcast. And let's get back to where
I'm glad I brought that up.
Yeah. So, those are the 3 parts. You can pick 2. So you can pick formative and actionable, entertaining, informative. You pick them. Now, there are exceptions. And you might be sitting there going, wow, that television advert was really good. And it wasn't very informative and very entertaining.
There's always one that does that.
Yeah. And they always have that same voice, don't they?
Yeah.
That poor bloke. Why is everyone always picking on me?
I think we should do the whole podcast in that voice.
Yeah. So the exceptions are here. And the exceptions, really, to become an exception and to actually get your content shared, we need to move to level 2. Let's take a break. So, BuzzSumo. They did a study of 100 million articles to find out what emotion caused people to share. There's a lot of articles.
That's a lot of people to do 100 million. Do you think some of it was automated? Yeah.
Well, that's what their software does pretty much. Yeah. So, anyway, what they found was, in first place, with 25%, the emotion that people share is awe. The emotion of pure amazement, okay? The next one was laughter, 17%. The next one was amusement, 15%. The next one was joy with 14%. And all the rest were made up by anger, empathy, and sadness. So, emotion makes content more interesting, basically. Now, the problem is...
how to trigger that.
Yeah, triggering awe is tough.
Triggering awe is almost, I think we decided, not impossible, but for SMEs, it's on the spectrum of maybe think of something else.
So awe is really tough. You basically, you can only achieve awe if you show someone something they've never seen before, because the next time you see it, it's not as amazing. Now, the next is laughter and amusement, which are more easier to target, and joy, anger. I mean, if you make something really boring, actually, it might trigger this emotion.
Yeah, it gets used plenty of times. And think of the Nike recent campaign that involved Kaepernick.
Yes.
It's definitely angered some people, and that was their point.
And it worked. It's why people shared it. So that's the level 2 part of the equation. Now, to prove this isn't just complete nonsense, what I thought I would do is we'd have a challenge. And in this challenge, what we're going to do is we're going to put the 3 parts of level 1, entertaining, informative, and actionable, into a hat. And you're going to pick 2, and I'm going to pick 2. And then we're going to pick one emotion. And we're going to write 30, 40 second bit of communication, which we're then going to do live on the show to show you how we can make dull industries boring, or dull topics boring, anything really dull. So what I want you to do is I want you to pick me an industry to write a piece on now.
It's going to be dull.
It has to be dull. It has to be something that's people just would never get excited about or do anything really other than just put up with.
It's easy.
Go on.
Utilities. Electrical utilities for businesses.
It's very specific, Dave. And I like it. It's very boring. And I was about to say no offence, but I reckon anyone in that industry will know it is. So, none taken?
Hopefully not.
I think for you...
Now that we have 33 listeners...
Yeah. So for you, we're going to go something vanilla, so insurance,
Oh yeah, good old insurance.
public liability insurance
Oh god.
in particular. Okay, so we're going to cut the show.
No, that's interesting. I'm sure.
So I want you to produce something that is technically not boring, is interesting, that hits the emotions and the thing. So right, we'll get the hat and we'll pick the options now. Okay.
Couldn't think of no name, so we gave it no name. Couldn't think of no name. This is the quiz with no name. This is the quiz with no name. Shoo-be-doo-be-wow.
Okay, Dave, shut your eyes. I'm going to present the hat that you left lying around, and put your hand in the hat towards the voice. Towards the voice. Okay, he's pulling now. Pull 2 out of the 3 there. Don't show the camera yet, because I'm going to try and guess what you picked from level 1 after I've heard your communication piece. Okay, have a little look. I won't look. Look away, man. Don't show the camera. Okay, now put them back. Right, now I'm going to pick them now. This is riveting stuff, I'm sure. Okay. Alright, let's do this.
This is the quiz with no name. Shoo-be-doo-be-wow.
You are joining us now. We've just been away half an hour each. We would recommend longer than that if you want to do this properly, but we've done it a couple of times before, so got a little bit of a head start. And Dave, what I want you to do now is to read me your not boring piece of communication. So
I think this needs a little bit of scene setting.
Okay, set the scene.
Of sorts, because sometimes we make stuff we think this could just not work, and I think this is one of those things. So that's why I love this. Just we're on the very edge of this is weird.
This show's been so tame so far, and the level of weirdness from now on, because you don't know what's coming next, is about to skyrocket to potentially a weird level that we've never even gone to. So if you like us for our weird stuff, you're in for a treat.
I decided that the best way to do this was actually a promo to get some awareness in the right context. I couldn't do an educational vlog on it because I just don't know enough about it. I think for the purposes of this exercise, let's just do a promo.
All right. Okay.
And I think the best way to get people to consider this is to do a series of spoof interviews, really short, right?
Okay.
Like a policeman style interview under lights, just interrogating different people, and they'd only be like 10 seconds long. And this the company is called Blue Shield. Blue Steel. Blue Steel, public liability insurance broker since 1983, but in a normal accent, if you want. Anyway, so you'd have situations like this just to get people to think about public liability insurance. So you've got this, interrogation room. You're a beautician, and a customer suffers facial burns after you wax her eyebrows, but it's a home visit. Are you liable? Yes or no? And then hashtag know your cover. Blue Steel, public liability insurance broker since 1991. Okay? And then there's
Oh, that's terrifying.
And then the next one is...
It's going to check the emotion for terror. It's definitely not empathy. I'm assuming the way it's shot is very comical.
It's very absurd. It's absurd, right?
Yeah.
So, another one like... but they're always meant to be just on the verge of, would I be covered? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Things like... you buy a coffee for your client, but he spills it on his lap, scolding his meat and veg. Are you liable? Yes or no? Hashtag know your cover.
Oh, right.
Okay, and the last one I got to was...
You've done a whole campaign for this.
A passerby asks you to let him use his restaurant. A passerby asks you to let him use your restaurant toilet and then walks into a low beam and lamps himself. Are you liable? Yes or no? Hashtag know your cover. So, right, it's a cumulative thing.
Yeah.
What you want to do is just be able to laugh at this issue that's otherwise boring.
I'm assuming all of the video and the shots of this is very comical acting. It's slapstick.
It's slapstick.
Because at the moment it sounds brutal.
Yeah. It's meant to be slapstick, but also I think the way that language is used in this has to be comical. Yeah. Hence using like lamps himself and meat and veg and stuff like that, right? Yeah. Instead of the proper term. So that's part of it. But definitely having people interrogate, it'd be so absurd. You couldn't possibly take it seriously. But the main thing is that you're meant to, I think the research would have to go in just to make sure that they are real ones, real claims, possible claims, that would be on the edge of, would I be covered or not? And then that will make people go and check.
All right. So basically, you've done that well because... So, for example, your restaurant owner, the idea is they turn around and go, actually, that's a good point. Am I covered? So it's actionable in that it's getting them to think, to maybe then go and look at stuff. And you've also hit the entertainment part. It's kind of informative, not really. That's okay. So
I think it's only informative in that there are grey areas. You know there's grey areas.
Well, the information could be in the wraparound, but it doesn't matter because you're only supposed to get 2. So I feel like those are the 2 that you've done very well. The emotion side, I know what it would look like because you would have worked with you what you film, so it'll be slapstick. So I think you'll probably try and go for amusement and laughter with your emotions there. So I think, I'm going to give you that and say congratulations, Dave. You successfully made public liability insurance
remotely
more interesting. I'm going to guess. I want the viewers and the listeners to try and guess as well. Was your communication actionable, entertaining, or informative? Okay, so have a little guess. Right, I'm going to say it was actionable and it was entertaining. What did you pick?
That is correct.
I think I'll just start with the title. How to hire a new part-time member of staff using poo. Cows are getting a tough time at the moment, mainly because they spew 7% of greenhouse gases and harm our environment. But maybe that's just because we're using them all wrong. You see, cows excrete a biofuel in the form of a pat. Each pat can be turned into electricity through anaerobic digestion. This is an eco-friendly way to produce energy and combat the damage they otherwise do to the environment. But so what? Well, the average medium-sized UK business uses 35,000 kilowatts of electricity a year, costing them £6,563. Now, a single bovine produces 109 kilowatts of electricity a year. By using the poo from only 319 cows, that business could power itself for free and use that money to hire a new part-time admin, assistant, VA or apprentice. What's more, the average small business spends 3,664 a year on electricity and would only need 183 cows to be fully self-sufficient. The money saved could be used towards marketing or consultants to help them progress. And the good news is, the process is simple. Gather the dung from a farm, dry it out, burn the dung below a reservoir of water and produce steam. Use the steam to turn a turbine connected to a generator. But if that all sounds like too much hard work, then maybe you just could consider a Smartelec green business meter. Smartelec, alternative power solutions that keep Britain's businesses moving.
I'm glad. There I was worried that mine was weird. That was brilliant.
Thanks.
But it's weird.
I know.
So hang on. I'm also struggling to think what category it's in. There's just too much going on there.
Let me ask you the first question.
Hang on.
Are you not entertained?
I am entertained.
Right, Greg?
I was intrigued. Is intrigue one emotion? I was intrigued where you're going with this. What I was, which is a definite storytelling thing. It's like informative and entertaining.
Yeah. Well done.
Just the 2.
Yeah. So I think we've proved it. Have we proved it, Greg? Do you think we proved it?
Yeah.
We can. Thanks, Greg.
Oh,
he's paid to say
yes.
Yeah. He's listening as well.
He's still here. I'd just
sit
the cameras rolling and go home if I was Greg.
So that's it, really. The show notes are available. The show hasn't finished yet. Oh, by no means. It's all the best is yet to come.
We're just getting warmed up. We're not. It's nearly finished.
So, we'll put this on. You can check out the algorithm. Make sure you consider all those 3 things when you're communicating, and good luck with that. So let's have a quick commercial drink
with Blue Steel.
Liability insurance isn't that fun until a client falls over and bends their thumb. Who will be there to save your bacon? Did you factor in trip hazard cover to the equation? Oh no, you didn't. Well, that's a shame. Blue Steel Insurance can take away the blame. Oh, I'm sorry, I misheard you. Do have cover. Well, in that case, fear not. It'll be no bother.
Right, so now we're going to move on to announce last podcast competition winner. It's quite exciting. It's a world first for us. And you asked people to write in with Hemel Hempstead, where this podcast is shot and recorded, a slugline for it based on the Nebraska campaign where everyone basically slated Nebraska. So I'll go through a few of them. We can pick a winner.
And this will tell you a lot about Hemel Hempstead, I think, if you don't know anything about it.
The best thing to do in Hemel Hempstead is visit the snow centre, but watch out, it's a slippery slope. It's good, that one, isn't it? They also wrote in this one, which tone changed. Hemel Hempstead was the first bisexual roundabout. You can go both ways. So let's keep it clean. It's a family show.
I see what they did there. I mean, if you don't know that there is a magic roundabout where you literally can go around it either way, which is amazing.
This one's good. Hemel, remembering your worst Kodak moments. So if you're not aware, actually, this is Hemel. We used to be the home to Kodak, which notoriously didn't innovate and died.
There's a lot of assumed knowledge, isn't there?
Yeah, we can set that up. And there's another one here. Hemel, home with the quiz with no name. So that's podcast related. Anyway, we've gone through them all.
They win because they sucked up to us, basically.
Yeah. No, so Dave, who do you think is going to win? From what we read, we've only read a few out. So the ones we read out between Shirley and Stephen. So who do you want? The Slippery Slope or the Kodak Died Here?
I'm going to go with Slippery Slope.
All right, we have a winner.
That's very funny.
Congratulations, Stephen. You've won yourself a book. You're in, yeah.
Whether you wanted it or not, you've won it.
In the future, people won't read books. They'll just know everything. But until then, we've made a book review because you're not as clever as the people from the future.
Okay, so that jingle, Dave, means it's time for this week's book review and giveaway segment. Now, I've prepared a book review from the book Bounce. That's what we're going to give away, and I really like this book for a number of reasons, but what I need to do is just take any responsibility from this section away from you, because you specifically told me not to do this, and I went and did it, okay? Anyway.
It has been said.
You've read Bounce, haven't you?
I have.
Summarise it quickly.
It's not innate talent, it's focused practice over time.
Alright, so basically, for me, that was an intellectual answer. For me, it was just basically saying that anyone can achieve anything. There's nothing. I don't really think there's anything out there that's actually stupid. It's more about practice, mindset, and getting things done. Anyway, right, there's a particular segment, and I thought to make it more interesting, I thought, what's hotter right now, Dave, than audio plays? So I've written you as the lead in a play from my favourite story from the book, okay?
Are these hotter than podcasts right now?
Trust me, audio plays are the next big thing. Now, what is your Hungarian accent like?
This is going to be like The Archers.
What is your Hungarian accent like?
Awful. It's just as bad as my Welsh accent, which is just as bad as my Indian accent.
If you scroll down the Google Doc,
right,
I'm going to play the part of narrator, and all the other people in this. You're just going to play the highlighted bit, so you're going to play the main character, okay?
Okay,
so this is an audio play rendition of my favourite story from the book Bounce. Are you ready? We have not practiced this, so I've got no idea how it's going to go down.
I'm not doing a Hungarian accent.
Yes, you have to, because I've written it in Hungarian. I've dropped out words like a and that, so you have to say it.
It's going to sound Russian.
All right. Let me start. Although this is a true story, some of the events were added and are almost certainly not true. To look at his enthusiastic face, you would never have guessed it, but Laszlo Polgar had spent his entire lifetime trying to convince the sceptical world of his theory, which, not to undo an entire man's life, was basically trying to prove that indeed practice doth make perfect. It was known as the practice theory of expertise. Polgar believed that any child could grow up to become a prodigy, and that inherent talent was not something in our genes, but something that could be nurtured at an early age in anyone. One day he approached some government officials in an attempt to change the education system as he believed his theories so strongly. He said,
"Let me prove it to you. Let me prove that I make any child genius. I just need newborn baby and I will make it prodigy. Then you'll see."
The officials replied, "Polgar, enough, you're drunk again."
"Well, if you won't give me newborn baby, I will make my own and then make genius."
The officials looked concerned and shouted, "Polgar, you must go see to a psychiatrist to heal you of your delusions." 8 years later, in 1968, Polgar was writing to a young lady named Clara. She was charmed by his letters and his passion, and even though she thought he might be crazy, they agreed to meet.
"Clara, babe, you gotta believe me, honey. Anyone can be genius. Anyone can be the best."
Clara replied, "I know, Polgy. I believe you from bottom of heart."
"Well, then let's make baby and prove to the world my theories once and for all, and then the planet will be full of exceptional people." What's happening? My accent's turning into something completely else.
"But if everyone is exceptional, surely it will set a new bar, and nobody will be exceptional apart from a few really exceptional people."
Ha ha ha, Clara. I love getting drunk with you. Let's worry about that when it happens.
And with that, the pair got married.
Now, Arnie. Become Arnie.
And with that, the pair got married on the 19th of April 1969. They gave birth to their daughter Susan. Polgar spent hours pacing back and forward trying to think of the area he would groom Susan for excellence, and said,
"I need Susan's achievements to be so dramatic that nobody would question their authenticity. She cannot be artist or writer because people will give her an objective rating and argue about if she was world class or not."
Polgar stopped, put down his beer, and shouted,
"Eureka! Chess! I will make her the world's greatest ever player. This is based on performance only, so there is no possibility of argument."
Polgar was not a chess player, so he read as much as he could about it. He schooled Susan for many hours a day before the age of 4. You may be thinking, poor child, but Polga made it fun, jovial, and over time Susan became hooked. One night, at the age of 5, when Susan was in bed, Polga went into her room to say goodnight. He leant down by her bedside, planted a kiss on her forehead and said,
Susan, you are ready. I enter you into competition. You will crush all the other children and send them all home in tears.
The competition came. Susan was so small she could hardly see over the board. Her competition was twice her size and age, but it did not stop there. She won the contest 10-0 and took home the championship. Polga was delighted. He ran to Susan and embraced her.
Susan, you have worked so hard. Tonight, we drink much vodka.
Fast forward to 1974, and Clara gave birth to a daughter called Sophia, and in 76, another called Judith. They both watched Susan play chess at home with great fascination. They said, Dada, I want to play chess.
No, girls, it's too early. Hold the pieces and take pleasure in the shapes.
The girls were not allowed to train until the age of 5. They loved every moment of it. They were never pushed and were always fascinated by it. By adolescence, all 3 girls had surpassed over 10,000 hours of practice. In 1981, Susan won the world title for girls under 16. She was 12. 2 years later, in 1984, she became the top-rated female player in the world, and by 1999 was the first ever female to gain the title of Grandmaster. By the end of her career, she had won the Women's World Championship 4 times, 5 chess Olympiads, and remains the only person in history to win the chess Triple Crown. Sophia smashed all championships and went on to win 8 straight games in a row against the greatest chess grandmasters. Her performance was ranked the 5th greatest in the world of history ever. Judith went on to work in facilities at a service station. No, only kidding. She became the youngest ever grandmaster at the age of 15. She's been the #1 female chess player in the world for over a decade. She defeated Garry Kasparov and other famous grandmasters and is considered to be the greatest female player of all time. Polga declared to the world in the 60s his children would become world beaters, yet still the girls were described as prodigies. He was constantly told what amazing natural talents the girls had. People were not ready to accept the iceberg of work that got into it. Polga's experiments are still to this day put down to a natural talent by many, but to us it will always prove that the youngest child is the best.
Well, I think that my Hungarian accent needs a good 10,000 hours.
So that's it. So if you want to win the book, what are we going to say?
If you want to win the book, you...
Send us a photo of an award you've won. It could be anything. It could be made in history. It could be like Best in History, 99. It could be a proper accomplishment. But send us a photo of something where you have achieved something and have proof of it. Does that work?
Even if it's when I was 7, I won Best Gymnast of the Year.
Did you? Did you?
No.
I got Most Improved in History 92. If you like our audiobook, copies are available for free. I'll happily cut you one and you can listen to it in the car on its own, play your friends. That completes the show. Do tell your friends about the podcast because that will spread it if you like it. Bit of homework if you want to.
I seriously think they'll just be really weirded out by weird accents.
Can you see what I mean by that? The podcast started off very serious,
yeah,
and then bam, you never know what you to expect on Business Unplugged Day.